You can smell football in the air as we begin today's NFL Live. Alongside Mina Kimes and Louis Riddick and Dan Graziano, I'm Field Yates, and training camp is finally here for 3 teams this week. On Thursday, the Steelers and Cowboys, who will play in the Hall of Fame game on August 5th, will hit the practice field. Then on Sunday, the reigning Super Bowl champion Buccaneers start practice as they open the season against Dallas on September 9th. All 22 Super Bowl starters are set to return for Tampa Bay. For the other 29 teams, they'll have to wait a few extra days until July 27th to get going. 7 squads will be led by first-time NFL head coaches. Well, let's talk about the biggest storyline for the 3 teams who are starting right now this week. Louis, we'll begin with you in Tampa Bay.
But yeah, Phil, I think naturally the conversation automatically drifts towards Tom Brady. And at this point in time, given the fact that they have 22 starters returning from their Super Bowl championship run last year, expectations are very high for them to repeat. But Tom Brady's 43 years old, going to be 44 years old. How much longer can you expect him to continue to perform at such a high level of efficiency when it comes to yards per attempt, completion percentage, touchdowns? I'm just anxious to see how he does in 2021.
So Steelers fans and everyone else is excited to see first-round draft pick running back Najee Harris. But for me, I want to see what this new look, rebuilt offensive line in Pittsburgh looks like, because if they don't perform better at both run blocking and pass protection, but particular run blocking this year, Harris isn't going to go anywhere and it won't be his fault.
Mina, for the Cowboys, I think the big story is obviously going to be quarterback Dak Prescott. How does he look coming back off of that significant and gruesome ankle injury that ended his season early last year? The Cowboys say he will be full go at the start of training camp, but we'll get a chance to see how he's moving around on that leg and also how healthy his offensive line looks, because remember, that line fell apart due to injuries last year as well, and that really hurt the Cowboys' chances of success once Dak was out.
Well, as Graz said, a lot of health questions in Dallas, and Louis, none more so than Dak Prescott. What have you seen so far from the Cowboys' star quarterback?
Yeah, Phil, I think, the clips that we have seen of Dak performing this offseason when he's been out on the football field, actually executing football movements. Look, you see a noticeable limp as far as his ability to move outside the pocket, throw on the move, and be mobile within the pocket. And look, that concerns me a little bit, simply because of the fact that expectations are so high for this young man, so high. And look, I understand that comes with the territory when you're on the Dallas Cowboys, and in particular the Dallas Cowboys quarterback. But look, I just want to see him be able to protect himself, move around within the pocket, and be able to create those explosive plays down the field that we've become accustomed to. And until I see him moving with a more natural gait and not that pronounced limp, I'm going to have some concerns, because I think we all want to see Dak excel. We want to all see Dak play at the highest level like he was through the first month of the season in 2020. And we know that the Cowboys need him to play that way if they're going to meet what these lofty expectations are for them year after year after year in the run-up to the regular season.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of pressure on Dak, and it's not because of the contract. It's because the defense is so bad in Dallas. I mean, look, there might be improved under new defensive coordinator Dan Quinn. I'll talk about that in a second. But for this team to actually contend, the offense needs to be spectacular. If Dak is healthy, given all of the skill players they have, and if the offensive line is healthy as well, this could be a top 5 offense in the league. But it's not like Dak's coming back and joining Washington or New York, some of the teams with better defenses in this division, really throughout the NFL. He's coming back to a team where he's going to have to score 25, sometimes 30 points or more to win games. So there's a tremendous onus on him because of the personnel issues in that defense. Really at every level, I see holes, question marks. Dak's got his work cut out for him, and so does Dan Quinn.
Yeah, it definitely makes me scratch my head when the conversation surrounding Dallas always just centers in on the offense and centers in on the perimeter players, as if there aren't other positions on this football field or aren't other units, other phases of this football team that quite honestly are the ones we should be talking about. And Mina, you're exactly right. I mean, on the defensive side of the ball, you have a new defensive coordinator. They drafted 6 consecutive players on the defensive side of the ball in 2020, or rather in 2021, heading into this football season, that are being counted on. Rookies that are being counted on
Yes.
to make marked, vast improvements on that side of the football. And I think those expectations are unreasonable, just like the expectations surrounding Dallas are unreasonable anyway. So I think that is where our focus needs to be all year long. It's where it will be all year long. I think Dak will handle his business, although I'm just concerned about that lower leg injury. That's what makes the football season that, quite honestly, is one of the most interesting that we've seen maybe in the past 10, 15 years for me, because of some of these types of newsworthy items that we're going to be discussing all year long.
Lewis, I mean, just looking at that depth chart that flashed, like Kelvin Joseph, who some people saw maybe as a bit of a reach when Dallas drafted him, he's earmarked starting opposite Diggs, who improved, granted, as the season went on last year, but he's the number one cornerback in this group. I mean, there are just so many issues in that secondary. Micah Parsons, they took the best player available, I thought the best defensive player available in the draft, which is excellent, and I imagine he's going to be, you know, ultimately the quarterback of this defense. He's a tremendous blitzer. He can bring pressure. But around him in that front seven at defensive tackle, we saw that was such a challenge last year, other than DeMarcus Lawrence, who's the mainstay, the opposite edge rush. Like, I just don't have any solid answers as to who is going to do what on this defense.
You know, at least for now, there are many more questions than answers defensively in Dallas. And a reminder, the Cowboys open up the NFL season along with the reigning Super Bowl champion Buccaneers on September 9th. The clock is ticking, especially with training camp just around the corner. And one of the talking points that will be surrounding the NFL will be the percentage of players per team that are vaccinated as we get into a developing story. While the NFL has stopped short of requiring vaccines, a message of encouragement has been clear, and not being vaccinated could potentially have a direct impact on teams. Here's Hall of Fame wide receiver Michael Irvin, who had this to say about the matter. If you're, quote, if you're not one of them teams at the threshold, are you really thinking about winning a championship? You see what I'm saying? Okay, so now if you're not getting vaccinated and you got all these other teams that are getting vaccinated, somebody in that damn locker room should say, quote, hey man, we're gonna have a chance. Are you vaccinated? All right, Graz, let's turn to you. What will players find when they show up to camp in terms of the differences of being vaccinated versus unvaccinated?
The differences are going to be significant in terms of what your life will be like as a vaccinated player versus an unvaccinated player in the NFL this season. That the requirements for unvaccinated players, daily testing, mask wearing at the facility, limited numbers of people allowed in the weight room if you're in there. You can't attend in-person meetings, can't use the cafeteria. If you're unvaccinated, it's going to look like it did last year. If you're vaccinated, a lot, if not all of those requirements are going to be loosened. So think about, you're an unvaccinated player, you have to show up at 6 in the morning to get your COVID test every day, and you have to sit in your car and wait for the result before finding out whether you can go into the building. Then you see your vaccinated teammates roll in around 8 a.m. for the 8 a.m. meeting, and they've got 2 extra hours of sleep than you did. I think the league is hoping, while it didn't require vaccinations, that it's doing enough to incentivize them, and I think there's a hope that some of those percentage numbers will go up once guys get to training camp and see how significant that difference is.
Yeah, just a few days away from players realizing that reality. Mina, what do you make of Michael Irvin's comments?
I agree with them. I mean, I would hope players are getting vaccinated because, as you saw that poster, that NFL poster say, they want to protect their teammates, protect more vulnerable people, protect themselves. Obviously, there's a scientific consensus that this is safe, and that if you do get sick, you're going to get less sick because of it. But if not for any of those reasons, the notion that you should get vaccinated to help your team makes perfect sense, help your team compete, because in the NFL, it's a cliche, but it's true. The best ability is availability, and if you test positive or increase the likelihood that you're going to test positive, you are actively hurting your team, and I think that's a message that coaches across the league are likely conveying to their players.
Yeah, how interesting and quite frankly sad it is that we have to boil this all the way down to the explanation, or rather the reasoning of, look, if you get vaccinated, it's easier on you to be able to give yourself a competitive advantage on par with the rest of your teammates that can then enable us to go out and possibly win championships. Forget about the fact that it may keep you from getting sick, or potentially, getting gravely sick, or getting your family members sick, or other members of society sick. At the very least, it'll help us win football games. So maybe you should consider getting the. I mean, how sad is that? That's what we've come to. That it's not enough. It's not enough incentive to protect yourself from getting gravely ill or one of your loved ones if, in fact, they aren't vaccinated. It'll just help you win a football game. A game. Obviously, a lot of us get paid handsomely to cover and to play, but it's a game. I mean, that to me strikes me in that comment that Michael Irvin more or less has kind of boiled this down to a sports argument when really it's a life argument.
Think about it this way. Remember the game last year where the Broncos didn't have a quarterback because someone in the quarterback room had tested positive and everybody else in there was a close contact? This year, if the same situation happened, anyone who was a close contact who'd been vaccinated wouldn't have had to miss the game. So you wonder why fans and players should care about this kind of thing. That's an example of the difference that Michael Irvin is frankly talking about.
Yeah, well, it sounds like plenty of motivation for players to at least consider getting the vaccination.
Do you own or rent your home? Sure you do. And I bet it can be hard work. You know it's easy? Bundling policies with Geico. Geico makes it easy to bundle your homeowners or renters insurance along with your auto policy. It's a good thing, too, because you already have so much to do around your home. Go to geico.com, get a quote, and see how much you could save. It's Geico easy. Visit geico.com today. That's geico.com.
Physically bigger than everybody else. You look at his legs, they're like tree trunks.
Look at them Saquon Barkley's, baby.
I work my butt off in the weight room. I squat 525. I just keep continuing to try to get stronger.
I can imagine it's hard to bring that guy down.
No one's going to catch Barkley. He raises his hand and celebrates. Touchdown, Giants.
He's an explosive runner.
Flashes left, runs through a tackle. Barkley still on his feet.
One dude tried to tackle me on the ground, but just holding my legs. I started laughing.
I believe that when I touch the field that I'm one of the best players on the field.
Saquon Barkley's comeback seems to be making strides, at least based off of his Instagram account, where he has posted photos of his surgically repaired knee that suggests he is very much back in shape. And while his long-term health is no concern, the star running back won't rush back before he's ready and isn't certain exactly what day he will be 100%. Here's more from Saquon earlier today.
I don't know. I guess we'll see. Just taking it day by day and just listen to my body. And whenever I'm able to get out there, make sure that I'm 110%. Not just for the safety and healthy of myself, my well-being, but just so I can go out there and compete at a high level and show the world what Saquon is.
So Saquon might be taking it slow given the last two seasons. In 2020, he missed 14 games after going down with a torn right ACL in Week 2 against the Bears. And remember, in 2019, he missed 3 weeks with a high ankle sprain. During the time he hasn't been available, the Giants have cobbled together a 7-10 record. So, Graz, we'll start with you. What more can you tell us about Saquon's timeline and return?
What Saquon said today lines up with everything I've heard from the Giants throughout the offseason, which is basically we aren't going to rush him back just so we can say he was ready for day one of training camp or even week one of the regular season. They're going to pay attention to Saquon and his recovery and his body and what those things are telling them and make the decisions accordingly. So they have confidence that he will be back and play this year. And I think it's entirely possible he'll be full go for week one, but they're not ready to commit to that because they feel like that would be unfair to the player. So they're going to continue to monitor throughout training camp. I think you'll see him limited at the start of camp. I think it's pretty close to a 0% chance he plays in a preseason game. Teams don't even put their healthy running backs in preseason games much anymore. But I think, as it gets closer to the season, the Giants will have a better idea of what they can expect from him in September.
Welcome back preseason games this year, by the way. Hey, Lewis, we know that when Saquon's right, he's outstanding. But what's the real area of concern for this offense?
Yeah, I think for this team overall field, it's going to be the offensive line, particularly the edges of this offensive line. Starting with Andrew Thomas at the left tackle, Matt Peart at right tackle, that is where they are deficient around that. And in pass protection in particular, which you can see right here. And look, Andrew Thomas really struggled. He really struggled with speed. He struggled with his punch, his redirect, playing with an anchor, all of it. And if they want this running game to get going, statistical evidence that suggests that as this running game goes, so does Daniel Jones' effectiveness. It plays off of one another. If they want Daniel Jones to get going, they need Andrew Thomas to play better. If they want Saquon to get going, they need Andrew Thomas and the rest of the offensive line to play better. And if they want to make any headway in what many people consider an up-for-grabs NFC East, They need this offensive line and Andrew Thomas in particular to play better. They had their pick up every offensive tackle, every top offensive tackle in the draft when Andrew Thomas came out. They picked him first. And he arguably, or rather not arguably, played the worst of all of them. So he has to pick it up. The offensive line as a group has to pick it up, or this team is not going to meet what are undoubtedly going to be higher expectations, as already articulated by owner John Mara.
Yeah, Lewis and I both love this defense. Some of the additions they've made at wide receiver are really exciting. Obviously, getting Saquon back would be huge, but none of that matters if the offensive line doesn't play better. The offensive line that struggled so much last year. For example, the signing of Kenny Golladay, who they gave a big contract, makes a ton of sense for this offense. Big contested catch machine. Daniel Jones actually has a really nice deep ball. It's something that I think has been one of his surprising talents coming to the NFL, is how good it's been, along with his athleticism. And Galladay's a great pickup for that. Daniel Jones' biggest flaw since coming into the NFL has been his pocket presence, sometimes his obliviousness to pressure coming off of the edge. So you look at this team and you say, well, you got this quarterback, you're trying to figure out if he's the guy, if you want to give him that big contract. But will you really be able to evaluate that if he can't stay upright? If you put an offensive line in front of him that's deficient? And that's my concern with this team, because other than the offensive line, I think this is a really good roster. But, man, I just look at it and I wonder, look at defenses like that Washington defensive line coming to town and you wonder how they're going to do.
Well, let's paint by numbers for a second and note that the Giants finished last year with the worst pass block win rate of all 32 teams. Not a stat you want to be worst in. Hey, let's go through some other NFC East teams with some quick reads. And we know that Saquon's going to likely break back out if he plays again. But which player is going to have a breakout year? Mina, we'll start with you and the Washington football team.
Yeah, so Antonio Gibson basically already broke out. You can see 11 rushing touchdowns, nearly 800 yards. But I think this year he asserts himself as one of the elite running backs in this league. In particular because the addition of Ryan Fitzpatrick, Curtis Samuel, I think there's going to be a lot of improvement on the offense overall that creates opportunities for him both in the red zone and on explosive plays.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Micah Parsons from the Dallas Cowboys, drafted 12th overall in this past year's draft. Look, at 6'2", 6'3", 245 pounds, and you run sub 4.4 in the 40-yard dash, you have to make an impact. You have to break out. You have to be everything that they expect you to be in Dan Quinn's new defense. Think Bobby Wagner and what he does for the Seattle Seahawks. Micah, at some point in time, has to meet that kind of expectation in order for this defense over the next couple of years to take off.
For me, I'm going to go with Jalen Hurts, the quarterback for the Eagles. I'm not sure he'll have a breakout season, but it'll certainly be a find-out season. They brought in a new coaching staff they feel like is tailored to maximize his strengths, and he'll get every chance to show whether he can be their franchise quarterback. And if he doesn't, they have 3 first-round picks likely in next year's draft.
It is looming, Dan. All eyes already on the Eagles' 2022 draft capital.
Perfecting the game takes more time than learning the rules, and a good coach can train you beyond the fundamentals, augment your strengths, and take your game to the next level. The same goes for writing. Grammarly Premium is your guide to not only avoiding basic mistakes, but also helps you save time and be more productive in your everyday work. Grammarly Premium gives you real-time suggestions on emails, messages, presentations, and more. Instead of double-checking yourself or even starting over completely, you'll improve your writing and save time as you go. The free version of Grammarly saves you from embarrassing basic spelling, grammar, and punctuation mistakes. And with Grammarly Premium's advanced time-saving features, you can write more clearly and efficiently. Streamline your workflow with seamless integration into Google Docs, Microsoft Office, your browser, your phone, and more. Save time looking for the right words with vocabulary suggestions. And get straight to the point with clarity suggestions that eliminate unnecessary words and phrases. Save time and write more confidently with Grammarly Premium. Get 20% off Grammarly Premium by signing up at Grammarly.com/podcast. That's 20% off at GRAMMARLY.com/podcast.
One play at a time now. Let's go. One play at a time. Ready, set, play ball. I'm about to take off. Stafford at the 5, 3, 2, end zone. Oh, Matthew took it home.
Got the crowd screaming because they about to see a show.
Matthew Stafford, magic.
I'm so excited about getting the opportunity to go to work with him.
Whatever needs to be done, I'm willing to do it.
Ain't no competition, baby. I was
So while the Rams went big game hunting and training for Matthew Stafford with their eyes set on a playoff run, 49ers safety Jimmy Ward believes the former #1 overall pick still has something to prove. Take a listen to Ward on Stafford. And by that I mean just listen to me saying it instead, because here's what he had to say. He's, quote, he's the same quarterback who was on the Detroit Lions and they still didn't go to the playoffs. They went and traded Jared Goff, who went to the playoffs several times and went to the Super Bowl. I've yet to see that with Matt Stafford. All right, so worth noting that since Jared Goff came into the league in 2016, both teams have led offenses ranked in the middle of the pack in terms of efficiency. However, Stafford has not had the luck of the defensive draw. Detroit's defense ranked second worst in the NFL since 2016, while last year alone, the Rams defense was #1 in the league. Detroit's was 32 in the league. That right there is not so good. Mina, I will hand the baton over to you. What did you think of Jimmy Ward's comments?
Well, Field, you know what I think because you're my friend and you've heard me say a million times that wins are not a quarterback stat. And this really is actually the perfect example of why wins are not a quarterback stat, because anyone who has watched these two quarterbacks play would not say, oh, Jared Goff is more talented than Matt Stafford because the Rams went to a Super Bowl. Wins are a team stat and you have to evaluate quarterbacks differently. That said, I don't think Matt Stafford should be absolved completely of his career in Detroit not going as well as he would have liked. You know, he didn't always have the best supporting cast, as you point out there. They've had some bad defenses in particular, but he did have the opportunity to play with some very good skill players. And coming to Los Angeles, which is an incredibly quarterback-friendly offense, I do think he's going to shine and look better than Goff, but he also has to play better than he did in Detroit. And that, to me, is going to be the question that's going to determine whether the Rams are merely a playoff team or a Super Bowl team.
Yeah, it's awful interesting, isn't it, how football is the ultimate team game and is the reason, the team aspect of it is the reason why we love the game until it isn't, until it doesn't fit what kind of point you're trying to make about an individual player. Then all of a sudden we boil it down to the individual player. And in this case, it's, well, look at Matthew. Jared went to a Super Bowl and Matthew hasn't gone to a playoff game. I mean, that's look, Jimmy knows better than that. He knows that's a ridiculous argument to make. He knows that doesn't provide any kind of context as to the situations that these two guys found themselves in at this point, up to this point in their careers. And that's why you just kind of dismiss it. Moving forward, though, there is no question about this. Matthew's going to the place that right now, by all accounts, many people believe that is the perfect fit for him, stylistically from an offensive standpoint, from a stylistic standpoint, and then culture-wise. He's matched up with the perfect guy in Sean McVay, although I have a hard time feeling as though any quarterback wouldn't feel as though Sean McVay is the perfect guy. And Sean isn't the only one who wanted him. Kyle Shanahan wanted him too, which leads me to believe that these two guys really do feel as though Matthew is the perfect fit for that offense. They're all in LA. It's Super Bowl or bust for Matthew Stafford and the LA Rams right now. It's Super Bowl or bust. And they both will be adjudged accordingly, both Stafford and Sean McVay, based on what the results ultimately are.
Yeah, I think that's the key way to look at it, right? Because Sean McVay has been to the playoffs and even the Super Bowl with Jared Goff as his quarterback. But he looked at the situation and he said, we need to elevate the ceiling at that position. And here Matthew Stafford comes in as a guy that he believes can do that based on his talent, based on what we've seen him do as an NFL quarterback over 12 years. Not whether he went to the playoffs with a bad team, but sort of how he produced, how he throws the ball. Mina's point about is this a playoff team or is this a Super Bowl team? That's the way Sean McVay and the Rams are thinking. Hey, we can go to the playoffs every year with Jared Goff if we want, but we want to win a championship. We think this guy can help us. They're not alone. Lewis mentioned San Francisco looked into acquiring him. Carolina looked into acquiring him. There were a lot of people that thought Matthew Stafford might be their answer at the quarterback position. The match of him and Sean McVay puts him in a great position to show us whether it was the Lions all along or whether he really is the guy that can deliver a Super Bowl title.
So, Mina, undoubtedly there's a lot of pressure on Matthew Stafford, as we've been discussing. But is it all on Matthew Stafford in L.A.?
No, I think the personnel around him, there's some questions as well. Jared Goff had, I believe, the lowest air yards per attempt in the NFL last year. A lot of that was because of him, but it was also because they didn't have the deep threat wide receiver to complement Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods in the past. You remember they had Sammy Watkins, Brandon Cooks. They hoped Josh Reynolds would be that guy. He's gone, so they bring in Deshaun Jackson. They draft Tutu Atwell. They need one of those guys to hit and be healthy to really maximize Matt Stafford as a deep ball guy. And then you saw the depth chart there with the offensive line. This was a good offensive line last year that bounced back, but it's also a thin offensive line. They didn't really add reinforcements this offseason, moving Austin Corbett likely into center. And to me, that's another part of this roster that it's a little bit fragile, because if they do suffer an injury, I think you could see the offensive production decline as a result.
Yeah, there's no question that 1 through 11 offensively, Mina, they don't have it all, zip tight from A to Z. No doubt about that. I think what this offense does believe, though, and I think what Sean McVay believes, just like Kyle Shanahan believes, is this. Their play design and their play calling sequencing will make up for any deficiencies we have in personnel, because we think we're that good, and our offense is designed to exploit inefficiencies in the defense, more so than you can exploit our inefficiency on offense, number one. But number two, as Dan alluded to too, they believe Matthew Stafford can make those unique throws, those unique 1 to 2 to 3 throws a game that Jared just can't make, and that if the guys like Deshaun Jackson and Tutu Atwell stay healthy and produce, that will be enough to put them back in the Super Bowl and win it.
And a lot of pressure on all involved. But as we've been saying, they've got a lot of the pieces in place, including an elite preseason broadcast team, which includes none other than Mina Kimes. All right, time to play a game of Read and React. And we begin with the latest sound from Packers president Mark Murphy, who's been busy this offseason. He's offered an update of sorts on Aaron Rodgers. Oh, Lewis. Nothing, I'm sorry, I should have read that quote. Here's what he had to say, Lewis. Nothing new to update on Aaron Rodgers. I was waiting for him to say it, and because it was such a non-answer, that's my job. What do you think about this latest non-update here from Mark Murphy? And what happens next with Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, don't worry about it, Field. I know what he said or what he didn't say. And you know what? What he said was nothing, which is exactly what he should have been saying all along. He should not have been kind of fanning the flames of controversy or trying to tap into or poke the bear, so to speak, with Aaron Rodgers. He's now basically put the ball in Aaron's court and said, hey, look, it's up to you now what you want to do and what kind of financial hit you want to take. I'm going to take care of this football team. I'll update everyone else when the time comes. That's the perfect way to play it. That's exactly what he should be doing. Ball's in Aaron's court. Let's see what he does with it.
Yeah, hopefully this is the last time that we have to deal with this sort of update, but we shall see. It's been quite the saga with Aaron Rodgers. Meanwhile, Ryan Fitzpatrick, he has a new team. He's bounced around the NFL a ton, and he feels as though he may be in one of the best spots of his career for success. Now we can take a listen.
I think this is the best situation I've ever been in, or the best situation that I've ever gone into as the guy. I signed to be the starter in Houston. I signed to be the starter in Miami. So this is now the third team that I've signed to come in and be the starter for. And I just feel like the way that I'm playing the last 4 years, kind of the progression of my career, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense that 17 years in, physically I feel great, mentally, emotionally, I'm in the right spot. I just think I am set up for success this year, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Mina, what do you make of those comments from Fitzy?
Yeah, that's from the great ESPN Daily podcast with Pablo Torre. And Fitz is absolutely right. He's totally set up for success. Couldn't be in a better spot, frankly. Elite defense in Washington. Great group of skill players. You heard me talking about Antonio Gibson earlier, but I love Terry McLaurin, the addition of Curtis Samuel, the drafting of Diami Brown. It's a wonderful group. And if Fitzpatrick can play like he did last year in Miami, this team has a strong chance of winning the division.
A couple of Harvard guys just talking football. What do you know? We've got an exciting edition for Monday Night Football starting this year. Of course, the outstanding main telecast will remain on ESPN and ABC, but for 3 seasons, ESPN2 and ESPN Plus will provide a new megacast offering the game featuring a couple of brothers, Peyton and Eli Manning. 10 games this season. You may have heard of them. That begins this year. Lewis, part of the aforementioned outstanding broadcast on ESPN and ABC. Any advice for these guys as they venture into the booth for the first time?
No, I don't have any advice for them. Look, I think it's really just, it's about the game, man. Keeping it about the game. And these two have so much experience and so many different stories and so many different ways that they can inform, educate, and entertain, right? That's what we do when we're on TV. They have so many different ways in which they can do that. Inform people, educate them about the game, entertain them about stories. I think it's going to be a great addition to the overall, just broadcast that we're able to put on every week, 10 weeks for them. And I think, people like options. The Mannings offer a compelling option. Steve Levy, Brian Greasy, Lisa Salters, John Perry, myself, we offer a very compelling option. I think we're looking forward to it. I've been tweeting nonstop about this game out in Vegas, between the Raiders and the Ravens. So let's just get this thing started. The Mannings, welcome, man. It's going to be a great year. It's going to be an absolutely fantastic year, as a matter of fact.
Cannot wait. And quite a rise for Peyton Manning from the Broncos' social media intern just a couple of months ago to broadcasting games on ESPN2 and ESPN+.
One app, one tap, we back. Switch the style up, never beat new track.
One app, McGregor's back in town. Mystic Mac got the suits, he ain't backing down. Got Mitchell with the shots, he's a three-point provider. Corren como locos cause they're scared of the spider.
One app,
La Liga's live on stream. Messi versus Benzema, Clásico Supreme.
third game on point, Coco setting it off. Ace down the line, the match goes to golf.
ESPN goes deep otra vez.
One app, one tap, it's a worldwide trend.
The ESPN app.
Download now.
So ESPN asked our panel of experts, Jeremy Fowler, Louis Riddick, Seth Walder, and yours truly, to put together projected power rankings for the next 3 seasons. It's available on ESPN+. And after rating each team's quarterback situation, remaining roster, draft capital, and personnel, here's how the rankings finalized. The Chiefs lead the group, followed by their Super Bowl foe, Tampa Bay. After the Bucs, the AFC North is well represented, with the Ravens and Browns sandwiching the Bills at 4. All right, so Louis, as mentioned, you were a key part of this, and take us through a little bit more of the efforts involved and the process involved to reach these rankings.
Yeah, Phil, I think first and foremost, the most important thing to emphasize is the fact that this is not about ranking them right now, present day, and how they're going to look week one, these organizations, these football teams. It's about projecting 3 years out how the teams you think will look and stack up when you take the 5 different categories that we measured him in. And as you know, that being the quarterback separate from the overall roster, the overall roster itself, your drafting ability, the efficiency of the front office, and then the quality of the coaching. And you give them a grade, an A, B, C, D, E, or F grade, essentially. The same as you would get in school. 90 to 100 is an A, 80 to 89 is a B. And, it would go from very good, or rather great, to very good, to average, below average, terrible, and on and on. So what I wind up doing this every year. Field, you've been doing it just as long as I have. Then you come up with a composite score for each team, you average it out, and then you come up with the power rankings. What's always good about this article in particular for me is it really does prepare me for the year and gives me a long-term perspective on what these teams look like. And it obviously sparks a lot of different debate. There's a lot of people who agree with it, a lot of people who don't agree with it. But I think the one thing that I take away from this year in particular, and we talked about this a little bit in our production meetings, is the fact that the importance of quarterback play both now and in the future, and how it really did affect some of our rankings of these teams in the top 10 in particular.
Yeah, we had some unique quarterback situations this offseason that made it even more difficult. So, Mina, when you look at this list, what might have stood out to you?
Well, it's how many of those teams with unique or uncertain quarterback situations landed it in the top 10 because they're doing everything else right. For example, the Colts jump out to me. San Francisco also jumps out. New England. All 3 of those teams are really well-built rosters, particularly in the trenches. I'm sure you guys gave them high marks on the general managers, the rest of the roster, all those other categories. But next year, when we're looking at this list again, not be in the top 10 because San Francisco, we don't know how Trey Lance is going to play. With New England, it's Mac Jones if he gets the opportunity to play. And then with the Colts, of course, it's Carson Wentz. And if you're the Colts, just for example, and Carson Wentz doesn't play well, suddenly you're looking at a team that's been so well built and done everything the right way and drafted well, and you're still at a loss because you haven't fixed the quarterback position. And I think that really speaks to how much it matters in the NFL, the outsized importance of finding your quarterback in the NFL, because all of these other categories are really secondary at the end of the day.
Mina, you mentioned the San Francisco 49ers, and when I looked at this list, that jumped out to me because I think there's a presumption of stability in the leadership positions there. And I think, they obviously, management believes in Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, and I think a lot of us do as well. But the fact of the matter is they've had 4 seasons there and they've had 3 losing records. And I wonder if their bad luck were to continue, they put a couple more losing seasons in the books, if maybe there's a change at head coach and or GM in San Francisco at some point in the next couple of years that changes the perception of their long-term outlook as well. So I think quarterback, yes, and also I think most of the teams in that top 10, you see stable leadership, coaches, GMs, et cetera, who've been there a long time.
Well, one of their former Bay Area neighbors, the Las Vegas Raiders, are down all the way at 28. That's a team that stood out to me in reflecting upon the exercise. They got to get cooking in a hurry down there in Las Vegas. 7 teams this year will be led by first-year head coaches. You can bet their surrounding cast will be essential to them rising up the ranks for next year's edition.
Hey, this is Adrian Wojnarowski. Check out my podcast, The Woj Pod, with insight and analysis on the top stories in the NBA.
Adrian Wojnarowski, our insider extraordinaire.
Reaction to breaking news.
This is the latest Woj bomb.
And in-depth conversations with some of the biggest names in the league.
Thanks, Woj. Do it again.
I'm good. Thanks for having me on the podcast.
All right. Yes. Thank you, Woj. Appreciate you having me on.
Listen and subscribe to The Woj Pod wherever you listen to podcasts.
Got breaking news. Tom Brady is a Tampa Bay Buccaneer.
The end of the Brady era in New England.
I'm instantly thinking we're going to be a playoff contender.
Goes toward the end zone. Caught ball. Touchdown. Buccaneers.
Brady's still going.
His 7th ring, this time with the new team.
Tom Brady, you are the GOAT.
He sure is, and Tom Brady is coming off of his 7th Super Bowl win. And what's more impressive is he did it while playing on a torn MCL in his left knee. That according to the Tampa Bay Times. Brady suffered the injury in his final season with the Patriots and underwent surgery to repair the knee this February. Graz, what more can you add to the story regarding Brady's lingering knee injury?
It's interesting to see what the league will do. They haven't said yet whether they would investigate this, but if the Buccaneers are found to have concealed an injury and not reported it on the injury report, particularly their starting quarterback, there is precedent for the league acting and fining the organization. We've seen them levy 6-figure fines against organizations in the past for that kind of thing. So watch out in the next couple weeks and see whether the league looks into whether the Buccaneers were hiding a Tom Brady injury last year.
Can't imagine they're too concerned about a potential small fine. But in case you haven't heard, Tom Brady is set to return to New England for the first time as an opponent in Week 4 on Sunday Night Football this upcoming season. And Patriots defensive lineman Byron Coward, who played 1 season with Brady, isn't exactly here for the reunion, saying, quote, "He's done a lot of things for this organization. He's coming back, but he's coming back as an opponent. So I'm going to treat it like any opponent. We ain't welcoming him. We just got to play him. There ain't going to be no damn ceremony for him or nothing like that. They might clap for him, but there's not going to be no, bro, this is our opponent. Bro, what? We like to win," end quote. All right, so, Lewis, how much fuel do you think this adds to Tom Brady's already impossible to put out fire?
Look, it's dumb. It's not being real aware now, is it? It really isn't. Look, Tom Brady said on the shop, right? He said on the shop, sitting there, talking to, the people on that panel that day. He said, "Look, 99% of what I say, it really isn't the truth, isn't really how I really feel." And then he went on to articulate pretty dramatically how he feels about certain things that kind of get him motivated, especially when it comes to either comparing him to other players or how he gets motivated to, to prove him, his supporters right and his doubters wrong, et cetera, et cetera. For a guy who basically is synonymous with Coach Belichick as far as the Patriot way is concerned, for you to say something about, that this really isn't a big deal, they're not going to be celebrating to make sense. I mean, that's just dumb because you know what Tom's going to do with this internally. And I can tell you this, I'll be watching that game. I believe that game is on Sunday night. I'll be watching that game very, very closely to see if they ever catch any camera shots, if he happens to kind of walk past Coward at some point in time in that game, and see if he jaws at him a little bit. Because Tom doesn't miss anything, man. He's kind of let you in on the fact that he doesn't miss anything.
Yeah,
Nothing. For you to say this, it's just dumb. It's dumb.
You can't poke the bear, or in this case, the goat. So let's get to the on-field side of this matter, because this will be a highly anticipated Sunday Night Football matchup. How do you see the Patriots with their new-look defense matching up against Brady and the reloaded Bucs?
You know, Field, I think they'll match up better with them than people might expect. Like everyone else, I'm very high on the Bucs and the Bucs offense, bringing everyone back. But I also think this Patriots defense is going to bounce back in a huge way. Last season, Bill Belichick was kind of like a chef cooking without all of his ingredients. It was a big part of the reason why that unit was so bad. This year, they bring back Dante Hightower and Kyle Van Noy. You see they're adding Matt Judon, Henry Anderson, drafting Christian Barmore, and then they have all of those DBs that Belichick loves to deploy in different ways. What makes Bill Belichick great is not just scheme and leadership, but the fact that week to week, he tailors his game plan to his opponent. You know, he is keenly aware of Tom Brady's, I don't want to say flaws because he is the GOAT, but the challenges he has as a quarterback, particularly under pressure. And I can guarantee you that Patriots defense is going to come into that game with the perfect game plan for Tom Brady. And I can't wait to watch it because it's like a chess match between these two sides.
Yeah, it's definitely that. And you're right, Mina. Look, he'll have a great game plan for Tom. He'll try and defend him inside out, meaning he'll try to take away his throws in the middle of the field and make it throw it outside the numbers down the field, see if he can complete those explosive plays. Ironically, that's exactly what Mac Jones has to show that he can do. This team is built inside out offensively. They're going to attack you between the numbers with the running game and with the 12 personnel, 2 tight end set passing game that's going to really, highlight guys like Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith, right? Can Mac show the same kind of efficiency pushing that ball down the field outside the numbers, plus 20 air yards, to guys like Nelson Aguilar? Can Nelson Aguilar have another career type of year like he had last year in Vegas? If Mac can do that, or Cam, I'm saying Mac because I expect Mac to be the starter sooner rather than later. If Mac can do that, seriously, look out for this team. Yeah, look out.
The Patriots
will be back.
And you can imagine how much frustration there is from just one losing season last year. It was their first losing season since 2000. Belichick's first year in New England. The Patriots haven't had consecutive losing seasons since 1992 and 1993. But Lewis, just to extrapolate that point one more about Mac Jones versus Cam Newton, are you buying this as maybe the league's most authentic quarterback competition, maybe other than New Orleans, as we enter training camps?
Absolutely, Field. Absolutely. Look, you know how Bill is. You know that this guy believes in competition and nothing is given. Everything is earned. It'll be earned at the quarterback position in New England this year.
No doubt about that. Fun competition awaits. Morning for Live tomorrow.
Hey, this is Bomani Jones. What's your favorite podcast? Let me tell you why that'll be number 2 after you listen to mine. 3 times a week, I'm going to challenge you to keep up with me as I discuss topics from the latest in technology and music, and people getting dunked on. Also, you'll get the very best analysis of the games, and we watch them with encyclopedic level historical connection. Plus, we have got a community of guests that you'll feel like are your closest friends in no time. Listen and subscribe to The Right Time with Bomani Jones Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts.